Something dangerous is happening to your money. You felt it at the grocery store. You've seen it trying to buy a car or a house. Prices are igniting. But what if I told you a silent, powerful force is going to make it worse? It's not just inflation as you know it. We're talking about tariffs. The hidden taxes slapped on imports that are on track to reach critical levels. Data from the last month shows they are directly causing prices in key categories to head higher, and things could get a lot worse. We're going to cover it all in today's video. Let's get into it. If you believe the rhetoric coming out of the White House these days, you would immediately give this video a thumbs down and move on to the next video. According to the official White House position, core inflation has beat or matched expectations every month since President Trump took office, and that those they call the panicans have been wrong about tariffs raising prices. And while overall inflation has been relatively low the last few months, there is mounting evidence things are changing. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, consumer inflation as measured by the CPI came in at 2.7% in June on an annual basis, up from the low point of 2.3% in April. Now, you may be saying, hey, that's just a 0.4 percentage point increase. That's nothing. And you would be right. But it is the categories driving the increases that is telling. Household furnishing and supplies up 1% in just a month from May to June. Appliances up 1.9% from May to June. Toys up 1.7% from May to June. And motor vehicles and parts up 0.6% from May to June. All these increases happen in just 1 month, and they are all tariff-sensitive categories. Household goods, appliances, toys, and car parts, all goods that we import more than we produce domestically, and this is just the beginning. It took a few months for price increases to start showing up, and they're showing up now. President Trump may have backtracked on his Liberation Day tariffs announced at the beginning of April, but he did leave a 10% across-the-board tariff in place on practically all imports. For those of you that don't think a 10% price increase is very much, let's just remember how bad things were under 9% inflation. This was how bad the annual price increase measured by the CPI was at the height of our most recent episode of peak inflation. It doesn't take much for people to start feeling the pain. So yeah, a 10% increase in price can really impact the average American, and that's just across the board tariffs. After the brief trade war with China, in which President Trump raised tariffs as high as 145%, he still left in place a 30% tariff on most Chinese imports. One of the reasons why it has taken this long before we started seeing consumer prices increase in tariff-sensitive categories is because there was an importing binge in the first quarter of 2025 to get ahead of the expected tariffs. Imports surged in February and March, enough to push U.S. GDP growth into negative territory for the first quarter. For businesses that brought goods in before April, they were able to avoid increasing prices, but that is starting to change, and things could potentially get a lot worse. Those Liberation Day tariffs that were put on hold back in April are slated to return at the 1st of August. Now, you might say that Trump will just reverse course again. After all, isn't he the taco man? The taco trade refers to the term coined by Wall Street that stands for Trump always chickens out. The idea being that Trump talks a big game, but when stock and bond markets throw a tantrum in response, he will change course and won't carry through on his tariff threats. Not surprisingly, Trump doesn't like the term taco trade and gets a little bit upset when asked about it. But this time around, Trump is saying that tariffs are definitely coming, and his cabinet officials are suggesting the same. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick says August 1st is a hard deadline, and Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent reinforced the idea that these August 1st tariffs need to happen for trade deals to get done. So there is a real possibility that Trump's reciprocal tariffs, or tariffs to put pressure on trading partners, or whatever you want to call them, are going to happen on August 1st. And these tariffs are no laughing matter. What has been reported for the U.S.'s largest trading partners so far is that there will be a 35% tariff on Canada, 30% tariff on the EU and Mexico, 25% tariff on South Korea, and 15% on Japan. Let's not forget about the already existing 30% tariff on China. When you add all these countries together, they make up more than 60% of all U.S. goods imports. There are other tariffs that could be mentioned, but step back and think about that. A 15 to 35% tariff on more than 60% of the goods coming into the country. There's a reason why markets tanked after Trump's original announcement of these reciprocal tariffs, because Wall Street knew they would have a severe impact on the U.S. economy. But now for the real question, what does this all mean for you? What does it mean for your money, for the economy, and for the housing market? For individuals, it means a loss of purchasing power due to rising inflation. If your income isn't going up, you won't be able to buy as many goods for the same amount of dollars as before. For small businesses, it might mean you won't be able to stay in business if you depend on imported goods for your products. Both of these feed back into the overall economy. If individuals are not able to buy as much due to inflation, that can lead to a drop in overall consumer spending. And consumer spending makes up 2/3 of U.S. GDP. If small businesses are struggling, they won't be able to hire more workers or may have to lay off workers. Small businesses typically make up more than 50% of all new jobs. What this all means for the economy is that a recession is a real possibility. For the housing market, higher inflation is never a good thing. Right now, the housing market is frozen because of where mortgage rates are now, creating big affordability challenges for potential buyers. But mortgage rates got as high as they did because the Federal Reserve aggressively raised their Fed funds rate to battle the last round of inflation we went through. Fed Chair Jerome Powell has admitted that the Fed would have already lowered their Fed funds rate by now if it weren't for all the uncertainty around President Trump's tariff policies. I don't mean to sound alarmist, but there is a real potential for negative economic outcomes because of these tariffs. Now, there's always the possibility that the situation could be managed. It was recently announced that Trump made a big deal with Japan that saw their tariff rate lowered from 25% to 15%, and more deals could be in the works. We have to watch the situation carefully, and that is what I do on this channel. I'm a professional economist and a licensed real estate agent, so I can bring you a unique perspective on both the economy and the housing market that you'll be hard-pressed to find on other YouTube channels. If you want to stay up to date on all the latest housing market and economic data as it comes out and what it means for you in the months ahead, make sure you are subscribed to this channel and hit that notification bell down below so you won't miss my next video when it comes out. And if you found today's video useful or at least mildly entertaining, go ahead and hit that like button on your way out to support the channel and help it grow. Thanks for stopping by. I'll see you in the next video.